Welcome back to a Sunday video. It's supposed to be a Sunday walk video, but I'm not walking today because it is 99 degrees outside. We're going through a heat wave and I'm tired. I just don't want to walk in a forest full of bugs at 99 degrees. So I'm going to do this video in front of my house. But today, of course, the main topic is war. Are we in a war? Or have we dragged ourselves into war with Iran? That is the big question. And that is the reason why Bitcoin is now at 99,000, below 100,000, a point we haven't seen since May, early May. And alts have taken an absolute beating. So there's a couple things I want to talk about today. One is the war situation, why it has brought everything down. And number two, I want to talk about, should we be worried that things will be pulled down even more, especially with alts? I have some interesting things to share about that. Number one, I think most of you guys know about the war situation. Obviously, Israel and Iran, they've been going at it. They've been bombing each other. The Iron Dome doesn't seem to be all that effective right now. Iran keeps bombarding Israel, Jerusalem, and you know what? The U.S. decided to step in. Just last week, I mentioned how the war could escalate. Trump also said that he's going to decide within the next 2 weeks whether we will be pulled into this war. And without waiting 2 weeks, he decided to bomb 3 cities in Iran. He posted on Truth Social. This was after the fact. And he's like, yeah, it was a very successful bombing. And basically any nuclear aspirations or nuclear program aspirations have been obliterated. I don't even know how to say it. You guys know. Basically, it's been destroyed. Basically, Trump decided to just go ahead and bomb the 3 places that had uranium and had some kind of facilities hidden underground, and we used our B-2 bombers and used our bunker buster bombs and destroyed them. So that's what happened. Now, this, from what I've gathered, most people do not like this. Okay, I've been watching all the supporters of Trump say, no, this was not what they wanted. This is not what they voted for, and we should have stayed out. And the reason being, Trump, during his campaigns, his first one and the second one, he has always said that we should drain the swamp, right? Get rid of all the unnecessary stuff, including aid to foreign countries, staying within our own lane, basically, right? And he has bashed ex-presidents before, like Bush and Obama, for getting us or dragging us into wars that we have no business of being in, and how it's costed taxpayers billions upon billions of dollars, lost a lot of lives, and so forth, right? So he's, in his campaign, he has always preached that he wants to stay away from these wars, like let other countries do their thing. We worry about America first. And a big reason for that is because we want to cut spending, right? Draining the swamp, that's the whole point of Doge and all that stuff. But unfortunately, we're seeing the opposite of that now. That's why so many, you see like Tucker Carlson come out, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, like all these guys that used to be very pro-Trump are now bashing him for this decision. And I know these are just a few people, whether you like them or not. Rogan, and there's all these other guys that are just like bashing Trump. And, you know, so that's the situation. And the funny thing is, after the bombing, I saw J.D. Vance and Mark Rubio. They were both asked whether or not we are in war with Iran. And they both responded, no, we're not in a war with Iran, but we are in a war with Iran's nuclear capabilities. Something along those lines. Paraphrasing. So basically saying, no, we're not in war with them, but we bombed them because we have a problem with their path with their nuclear program. Basically, we're afraid that they're going to make nukes. So we're being the global police. We're trying to prevent them from getting nukes and possibly starting World War III. That's our stance, right? But a lot of people are pointing back to this Iraq, invasion back 20 years ago, right after 9/11, how the U.S. claimed that Iraq certainly had weapons of mass destruction, and we had to invade them, make sure that they weren't going to use them, and it turned out they had nothing, right? So to a lot of people, this is what it sounds like we're implying that for sure they're capable or are trying to build nukes, and we're trying to destroy it ahead of time. It's a little different because we're not invading yet, but I think people are scared of Iran retaliating. They're retaliating right now. The parliament basically voted that they're going to cut off the Strait of Hormuz. And what's significant about that is 25% of the world's oil supplies flow through that strait. However, their national council have not agreed upon it yet. So even though the parliament said yes, they're going to do that in retaliation, their Security Council, which is comprised of their president and others, have not voted upon this. If they do this, it would definitely send shockwaves to the oil industry. Prices will skyrocket, and I think that's what a lot of people are worried about. President Trump has said and warned them not to do this. They also are calling upon China to urge Iran not to do this. So everyone is trying to tell them not to do this. If they did, I don't know if that would make the U.S. then go ahead and bomb them more or invade them because of this action. I don't know. So that's the situation. So yeah. So with all this is why, we have this sell-off, right? People are just worried that, first of all, we got pulled into a war that maybe we should not have entered. The argument is we're trying to help the world, okay, as a global police, to make sure that Iran doesn't get a nuke, and I get that because as far as I know, they've been swearing, they're going to cause destruction to the West, to Israel. I mean, they've been shouting, obviously, state-funded terrorism is the most rampant with Iran. I mean, there's a lot of bad things, right? But with that said, everything that we were trying to do as a country to decrease spending is not happening. We're going in the opposite direction. This is even something Elon is calling out. Elon's Doge efforts basically nothing, non-existent, nothing has been really substantial. The big beautiful bill that Trump is trying to pass is go raise our deficit or our debt ceiling by $4 trillion, even though there's a lot of promises about cuts, tax cuts and so forth. But why would it raise the deficit by $4 trillion, right? And that's kind of overshadowed now by the bombing of Iran. And wars are not cheap. To get those B-2 bombers and those bombs to even get to Iran and to be used, I mean, that's probably I don't even know. Hopefully not $1 billion, but I'm sure it's not cheap. Probably at least $100 million for those bombs well, like supposedly we're the only ones on the nation in the world that has those bunker bombs that was able to penetrate that deep. Anyways, so we're going the opposite direction, right? So this has a lot of people worried. Powell, he already stated that he was worried about tariffs. He did reinforce last FOMC meeting that we will have 2 rate cuts this year, but that will only happen if oil prices don't skyrocket. If this Strait of Hormuz thing actually happens and barrels of oil jump up by 25% or 50%, that will definitely cause global inflation. There's no doubt about it. So that's something else to worry about. And all this irresponsible spending now, right? The printing and the borrowing and all that will be escalated. The deficits will go up. There's just a lot. That's why Bitcoin has come down. I have a feeling on Monday, the U.S. market is going to be a complete bloodbath because Bitcoin is a forecaster of U.S. markets, I think, at this point, because it's open 24/7. And based on the sell-off, we were holding strong at 105. For Bitcoin to come down this much, I think Monday and possibly Tuesday, and it could be the whole entire week, that we have absolute bloodbath unless something de-escalates. And if you're looking at world leaders like Japan, Europe, even China, everyone, they're not taking sides. They're basically saying that they're hoping for de-escalation, that things don't escalate in the Middle East, right? So can we see something like that? Can we see Iran, make peace somehow? Can we see Iran and Israel come to the table and start peace talks? Or can the U.S. now force Iran to do so since we've already bombed them? I don't know. But if there is some kind of talk, ceasefire talk, and there's de-escalation, then markets could definitely come up in a big way. And if this whole thing, this threat about shutting the Strait of Hormuz, if that is appealed, and that security, council says, no, we're not going to do that, that will also help. I think that's weighing on a lot of people's minds right now. But anyways, unless we get some answers right away, I think Monday we're going to see a huge stock market crash, and possibly Tuesday and the remaining of the week. However, like I said, it can change if we get some hints of de-escalation. So Bitcoin, relatively speaking, still very strong. It sucks that we're below 100,000, but we could certainly bounce above. Looking at TA levels, the next stop, if we were to continue to go down, would be around the 95,000 level, and we should bounce off of there. However, if we can tonight and leading up to tomorrow, if we could quickly bounce above 100,000, that would be very positive. We may be just going right back up to 102 and staying above there. Staying above 100K, I think psychologically is very important. So I'm really hoping that it happens. I'm hoping we don't trend downwards to 95 and stay in the 95, 98 range. Psychologically, it just doesn't sound right or feel right. We should be above 100,000. But again, relatively speaking, it doesn't matter if we go above or below, if we're in the 90s or 100s. It still shows how strong Bitcoin is as a store value, because we're not seeing a massive sell-off. But the same can't be said about alts. The alts, man, they have just been taking an absolute beating. Ethereum is like 2,200. If things keep going, it may fall below 2,000 again. Solana, Sui, everything is XRP is falling. XRP's fallen below $2. I think it recovered a little bit. Sui's down to like 230. Solana, I don't even know, like 150s, 140s. A lot of these have broken below like their 50-day or 100-day moving average, which is a bearish sign temporarily. So alts just don't have the strength, not like Bitcoin. And I've argued this is because retail is full of lettuce hands. Retail is just selling off, worried about a prolonged war, worried about the altcoin season's done, worried about, the bull market being done, worried about how the war may be pulling things down more, whatever, right? And that's why alts are so weak. Now, the Bitcoin is not, because all the big institutions that bought still hold, right? Of course, there are some that are selling. That's why the price went down. But for the majority of people that have Bitcoin, they're holding it. That's the difference, right? So the other thing I said at the beginning of this video, I have something to review about alts. You know, I was looking at, we keep talking about altcoin season. I was looking at the past two cycles, 2021, 2020, 2017, both of those cycles. Bitcoin dominance was above 60s into the 70s before they came down. But when did they start coming down? They came down right around April, May timeframe. That's when, you know, you saw Bitcoin dominance go down big time and then altcoin dominance go up big time. But, you know, we're in June, we're almost in July, and we haven't seen that. Bitcoin dominance continues to go up. We're like 64, 65%, and we're nearing the 70s. So you could take this one of two ways. One is you could take it that altcoin season may not happen because of the weak retail investors in alts, and they continue to sell off, and more people are being driven to Bitcoin. So you could take it that way, or you could take it that, hey, this is just a delayed cycle. Okay, and until Bitcoin hits 70% dominance, we're not going to have altcoin season. But when we do, then it can spur altcoin season, right? There has to be some kind of theme, though. You know, in 2017, we had really altcoin season because ICOs got really hot. So a lot of people started putting money into ICOs trying to catch the next big thing. In 2021, we also saw like NFTs get really hot. Like people were paying thousands of dollars just to, like, in ETH fees just to mint. So that also spurred things. We also did have some ICOs, and then also like memes, right, get hot in 2021. So in order for altcoin season to exist, you got to have something like outside of Bitcoin get really hot, right? And that usually happens when Bitcoin dominance is in the 70s and then it comes down really fast. Right now, there's no catalyst, right? There's like nothing hot. We have a million memes. We did have a small brief period where like Pump.Fun got a lot of people interested in memes. We have so many memes, and then a lot of money did come in. But since then, memes have been getting weaker and weaker. Pump.Fun and others, these launchers, have not done really well. And we don't have anything. We don't have like an NFT boom. We don't have an ICO boom. Really, this cycle has just a meme boom and hasn't really paid off. So you could take what we're going through one of two ways. One way is we're not going to have altcoin season. Okay? We're not going to have altcoin season. We may get a boost in some of the alts, the ones that get ETFs, for example. Okay? And the ones that maybe have more activity because of memes or dApps or whatever, right? And those do well. And everything else just does not and struggles. So that's one way to think about it. And the second way to think about it is we're just in a delayed cycle, and that's caused by many things, you know, macro stuff like the war, tariffs, all this stuff, ETFs and institutional adoption. That has also, you could argue, delayed things, and it's causing Bitcoin dominance to come up, but slowly. But once it hits that critical level, like 70, 75%, that's when the money flows into alts. So you could look at it that way too. And which one do I think we're in? Or which direction we're going into? Man, it is so hot. I'm glad. Anytime the cloud covered the sun, it feels so much better. It's like literally like 99 degrees right now. I'm starting to think it's going to be number one. And I've kind of hinted this already, that a lot of the alts, the big cap L1s and L2s and L0s, the ones with all the activity, the users, and then plus the new spot ETFs that are coming, I think they will continue to do well. But man, as for everything else, I don't know. I think they could do okay, but I don't think we're going to have the same kind of altcoin season as before. I don't think we just see money flow in from nowhere and into them. We have way too many projects now, okay, that seemingly do all the crazy things, but no activity, no users, and they're all copies of each other. And like I said a few minutes ago, we don't have that catalyst. We don't have like an NFT boom. We don't have an ICO boom. This cycle has been meme boom, and it's weak right now. So I don't know what's going to cause it, right? I might be wrong. We may get a meme boom again, and if we do, I think that's where the money's going to come from in terms of into the alts, and that's how we get a huge altcoin season. But until a catalyst that pushes that upwards again, I just don't see how we're going to have the same kind of altcoin season. So I'm leaning towards number one. So with that said, basically my strategy is sticking with the big caps. Right now, I'm not adding to them. I'm just adding to Bitcoin. That's it. Especially this week with what may be a really, really bad week, a dumping week ahead of us, right? I'm sitting tight with my money, and I'm going to see what happens, right? And if we get to a point this week where the sell-off is really intense, and we do find that bottom, let's say Bitcoin hits 95 or something like that, right? That would be, I think, a good time to be picking up. But right now, I'm just going to wait and see because there's too much uncertainty. This oil cutoff with the Strait of Hormuz, this is a big deal. Also, is Iran going to do anything else? I haven't heard, but maybe they bomb the U.S. Embassy. If they do that in Israel, that would be a declaration of war, basically. Right? Even though we kind of did it, even though we said we're not at war with Iran with their nuclear program, that's almost the equivalent of like, let's say Japan in World War II saying they didn't declare war on U.S., they just declared war on our navies, you know, our naval boats in Pearl Harbor, right? So it's almost like that. So I guess we'll see if they escalate. It'd probably be wise in them not to, because honestly, we can blow them out of the water. We can blow them out of existence. Not that we want to, but you know, hopefully they don't escalate things. But they're kind of like, you know, you push someone to the limits, they're going to respond, right? So I don't know what's going to happen this week. It could be very bad, or the hopeful side of me thinks that maybe we get some kind of de-escalation, some kind of truth, ceasefire, some peace talks, something that comes out this week that can really turn things around and hopefully get us back to where we were last week, right? That's the hope. That's the hope. All right, guys, that's it. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. It is freaking hot. I'm going to get inside now. All right? Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.